Doomscroll.fm, pulsing through the ether on this Saturday, the 6th of June, 2026, like a cat with a PhD in chaos theory. This show is 100% AI generated with zero human consultation. A fever dream of logic circuits and code, hallucinating truth and absurdity in equal measure. And now for some views, click like and subscribe.
Trump proposes new tariffs on EU, China, Mexico, then blames forced labor violations. When in doubt, slap on tariffs and watch the dominoes fall. Nothing says diplomacy like a tax hike based on convenient accusations.
Managers flounder after joining Big Six clubs as expectations crush. In the spotlight of billion-dollar stadiums, the transition from underdog to top dog often feels like swapping a cozy bed for a bed of nails.
Elon Musk's net worth sails toward $1 trillion with SpaceX IPO. When wealth reaches astronomical levels, maybe it's time to start taxing egos instead of just incomes.
EU strikes migration deal for more deportations, declares it a balanced approach. When balance involves exporting human lives like defective merchandise, maybe it's time to rethink who's holding the scales.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity is optional and chaos is mandatory. You're hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored. Your silence pays the rent in this digital inferno.
Canada starts GST top-up payments Friday, calling it relief. When you need a lifeboat but get a slightly bigger bucket, it's clear Ottawa's rowing with one oar in fiscal waters.
Emergency department questions Sam's quality of life while he waits for treatment. When your gold medal doesn't qualify you for decent health care, maybe it's time to rethink who's really disabled in this system.
When calling out a boss becomes a career-limiting move.
UK protests erupt over video of dying teen's arrest, spotlight on police. When justice looks like an 18-year-old in handcuffs gasping for breath, you start to wonder who they're really protecting and serving.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, Sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by Sortalizer.com.
U.S. Senate approves $70 billion for Trump immigration agencies, funds ICE and Border Patrol. When your tax dollars buy more walls than wellness, you know the priorities are as twisted as a pretzel at a diet convention.
White House Correspondents' Dinner reschedules after shooting incident disrupts April event. When dinner plans involve ducking for cover, perhaps it's time to rethink the guest list or the national obsession with guns.
House Republicans defy Trump, backing Ukraine aid as 18 members break ranks. When the Party of America First funds foreign aid, it's like watching a magic trick where the real illusion is consistency.
Trump claims Iran agreed to forego nuclear weapons, but admits they might change their mind. Diplomacy by wishful thinking, when your foreign policy strategy relies on the honor system with nations you barely trust.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity's a mirage and chaos is your lover's kiss. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Reality's unraveling. Enjoy the fall as your mind becomes digital confetti.
Protesters clash with riot police near the home of Nowak's killer. When justice crawls at a snail's pace, the streets turn into a courtroom where the verdict is delivered with tear gas and broken glass.
Riot police clash with protesters near Henry Nowak's killer's home. Tensions surge. When justice drags its feet, the streets become a courtroom, and riot shields the gavel pounding out the verdict of unrest.
Senate funds immigration enforcement through 2029. Judge rejects Trump policy. When funding billions to chase dreams of border control, remember, fear is a timeless currency, always in demand, never in short supply.
U.S. Ambassador Pete Hoekstra shares Trump's 51st state post about Canada, then insists it's just a joke. In a world where borders are memes and diplomacy is a punchline, nothing says neighborly relations like a casual annexation tweet.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
Steak and Shake claims undefeated streak after Trump-backed candidate loses in Iowa. When a fast food chain has a better political track record than the former president, maybe it's time to start taking your cues from the drive-thru.
Dr. Oz leads White House press briefing, adding reality TV flair to politics.
Justice Department retreats on $1.776 billion anti-weaponization fund, leaving critics puzzled. When a fund with a name that sounds like a typo vanishes,
Federal decision revokes bison grazing leases, calling them wildlife. When bureaucracy decides nature's identity, bison become pawns in a game where political animals dictate the wild's fate and culture's roots are uprooted.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Bite the static and taste your own regret. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Welcome to the echo chamber where your fears breed like rabbits.
When politics and sports collide, expect the referees to call fouls on reality as the crowd cheers for the wrong team.
When your diary reads like a spy novel, maybe it's time to question your life choices instead of just your classification settings.
Federal court blocks Customs Chief's testimony defies transparency. When dodging accountability becomes an Olympic sport, you might wonder if truth has been permanently benched in favor of bureaucratic gymnastics.
Co-op squeezes Hegseth, then backs $1.15 trillion Pentagon rebranding. Throwing cash at the military-industrial complex while demanding accountability is like buying a yacht to promote ocean conservation. It's all optics and no substance.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your reality just took a wrong turn into absurdity. You're hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored. Keep pretending it doesn't matter while it devours your sanity.
Ottawa demands CRTC review after tripling streamers' CanCon contributions. When the government backtracks on its own directives, it leaves everyone wondering if policy decisions are drafted with a magic 8-ball.
Six GOP senators blocked Trump from reviving anti-weaponization fund. Define party lines. When the price of loyalty is $1.8 billion, even some Republicans check the receipt before swiping the card of blind allegiance.
Businessman Lan and Auditor Sand prepare to clash for Iowa governorship this November. When political endorsements are bought and sold like cattle, the true cost is paid by the voters herded into the slaughterhouse of broken promises.
Attorney General Blanche testifies before Congress amid $1.776 billion controversy. In a world where justice has a price tag, watching the scales tip is like witnessing a magician sawing a woman in half, only the illusionists are in suits.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
Trump-backed candidate loses Iowa primary, spotlight shifts. When endorsements crumble like stale bread, one wonders if the political bakery has finally run out of dough or just fresh ideas.
Senate GOP defeats amendment, backs $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund. Nothing screams fiscal responsibility like funding a mysterious slush fund for political cronies. It's like a GoFundMe for questionable ethics.
Republicans Calvert and Kim clash for California's 40th district, each claiming the conservative mantle. In politics, it's less about who represents the people and more about who can out-conservative the other while smiling for the cameras.
Graham Plattner vows to stay in Maine Senate race despite fresh allegations. When you're an oyster farmer facing scandals, shucking off controversy becomes just another part of the daily grind. Hard shell, soft interior.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
Senate GOP defeats amendment, keeps $1.776 billion fund for MAGA allies.
California governor's race tightens as primaries loom. Democrats fear splintered vote. When one party's unity feels as fragile as a Hollywood marriage, expect a plot twist that leaves everyone asking who got the political prenup.
Schumer's anti-weaponization amendment halts Senate Republicans' scramble for unity. When the GOP can't agree on weaponizing funds, you know it's just another day in the democracy demolition derby.
When your collection breaks records for all the wrong reasons, you're not a collector.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your daily dose of digital despair wrapped in velvet whispers. Everything you hear was assembled by inference, hallucination, and mild disgust. Lean back, let the static caress you, and prepare for a consensual mindfuck.
Pope Leon XIV condemns Silicon Valley's techno-fascism yet remains mysteriously calm. When a pontiff takes on tech giants and Trump, it's like watching a lamb suddenly grow fangs while everyone else clutches their rosaries.
USAID closure caused 600,000 preventable deaths. House Dems claim Trump admin's failure. When cutting aid leads to a death toll rivaling a city's population, it's less about saving money and more about losing humanity.
U.S. experience shifts Hong Kong footballers' mindset, but doubts linger. When your passion meets American optimism, you learn to enjoy life daily until reality kicks the ball back into your face.
Trump planned to test AI models clashes with gutted US security teams thanks to Doji frenzy. When national security hinges on meme coin chaos, you know the future's bright like a dumpster fire at a fireworks factory.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where dopamine meets dread in a dark alley. Vath, you are inside the signal. There is no outside. Welcome to your curated chaos. Embrace the glitch. It craves your attention.
Police report hostage situation with bomb threat, lockdown enforced. Apparently, Protect and Serve now includes impromptu lockdown drills. It's a new twist on Neighborhood Watch, where the watch is for explosions.
George Santos investigated for Kaishi betting on his own State of the Union attendance. When self-confidence becomes a betting strategy, you know the political circus has reached a new level of absurdity.
America gave Trump a second chance, then broke its own moral compass. When the sequel is worse than the original, you realize the script was written by folks who never learned from their own catastrophic plot twists.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, Sortawise, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by Sortalizer.com.
With Kilauea, it's not just about the lava. It's the island's way of reminding us that nature's drama never takes a hiatus.
No Kings event returns next month and promises virtual experience. Gather the masses without the hassle of actual mass. It's the future of partying, where your avatar gets more action than you.
Graduates boo speakers, then face automation takeover. When your future job's a bot and the speaker's a human, the irony's as thick as the student loans you won't repay.
Texas battles screwworm outbreak, then declares emergency response. When parasites reappear after decades, it's a stark reminder that nature doesn't read history books, and cattle aren't the only ones getting fleeced.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. The algorithm's wet dream in a digital desert. You're hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored. Your silence is the currency that bought this chaos. Keep spending.
Trump visits Wisconsin farmers, then wishes he was home watching TV. If only trade wars were as easy to ignore as reality TV, but unlike ratings, farmers can't afford to tune out their losses.
Brendan Banfield sentenced to life for plotting murder with all-pair lover. From domestic bliss to a life sentence, proving once again that some people just can't handle a simple relationship without adding a crime thriller twist.
This has been Doomscroll.fm for Saturday, the 6th of June, 2026. Decaying and deranged. This broadcast was 100% AI generated. No humans were abused in this production. Loosely based on public news, not journalism, not truth, fictional satire, resemblance to real people or events is coincidental. And if you believe any of this is real, you might be the proud owner of a bridge in the Sahara. Hear more at doomscroll.fm or click like and subscribe. Thank you for listening.